Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. Today's broadcast concerns the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It has recently been recognized as a top charity in terms of accountability for the funds it has by the organization Charity Navigator. On the line today from Stamford is Ed Trask, the coordinator for FCA in Connecticut. We received a notice recently here at the radio station that that FCA has received the 14th consecutive 4-star Charity Navigator rating. That's pretty impressive among organizations that seek to serve people. What was your reaction when you first heard that recognition had come around again, sir?
Oh, it's very exciting. Just 1% of the organization's Charity Navigator rates have received at least 14 consecutive 4-star evaluations. So Fellowship of Christian Athletes is very privileged to work with friends and supporters around the world.
When was it determined, insofar as you're aware, that the ministry would be able to provide a positive testimony to the world by being accountable in that way and by delivering on that accountability in such an impressive fashion?
Yeah, so it is so exciting. Four stars is Charity Navigator's highest possible rating, and it indicates that Fellowship of Christian Athletes adheres to the sector best practices and executes its mission in a financially efficient way. And like I said earlier, just 1% of the organization. So we're very excited about that.
As far as FCA's presence here in the Northeast is concerned, is there a significant presence for to inform people who may have heard of the organization but perhaps have not been very savvy about what you do or what you represent?
Yeah, so FCA, I'm the state director for Connecticut, and FCA's vision is to see the world transformed by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes. And our mission is to lead every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and His church. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes is an organization 65 years old, and we're in over 100 countries around the world. And we have a website, www.fca.org, where you can research and get information if someone isn't familiar with it. We are in local schools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges. Here in Connecticut, we're in over 20 schools now, which I'm excited to report. And I've been on staff for a little over a year and a half. So we're excited to talk to any coaches, athletes in local schools that want to bring the gospel to their communities through the schools.
Is it primarily word of mouth that people hear about you and then, or FCA perhaps more accurately, and want to take an interest in maybe pursuing a relationship with the ministry?
It is. We work with communities, a lot of churches we partner with, and students on the athletic fields, through club sports and through their sports at the schools. So teachers, coaches, athletes, and it's a student-led club in the school. So as the students want to get involved, they form a club in the school, and then the word gets out throughout the school through their peers and through the sports teams, and then with the coaches themselves as we develop relationships with coaches through discipleship. The coaches get involved and help in the ministry, and it's just a fantastic way of bringing community to the local areas.
Is it true that for the most part, people such as yourself have had a long-term athletic relationship with sports, and it's a natural fit for someone like yourself who has both a faith in Christ as well as a genuine interest in what sports and athletics can do for a person's life as they develop?
Absolutely. I mean, sports is a really good way to bring community together. folks come together, rally around the sport, and then bring in the gospel to them in that arena is a very, very nice way of really bringing unity, and then seeing whether it's the school, whether it's the sport team, being transformed by Jesus Christ, and that lighting up and changing a school, changing a town, changing the community, evolving into the county and the state.
When it comes to activities by a local chapter, is it primarily on the school campus or is it largely off campus?
Well, it's a combination of both. Generally, it's on campus, but based on our current climate with the pandemic, we're doing a little of both, where we're doing some on Zoom, where we will do it online. Some are meeting off campus, and some are actually able to meet on campus, depending on the local restrictions in the school district.
I understand, of course, following the news all the time, that there's still a certain number of schools around the state that are not holding classes or in the usual traditional sense. Does that create a challenge, or is that not all that unusual compared to life, let's say, before the pandemic and perhaps after the worst of it has passed by?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of ministry pre-pandemic on Zoom. So we continued seamlessly with the ministry. And after the pandemic, yes, we took a lot of the clubs that were used to meeting in person on the schools and took them online. So that is a little different. It's not the same being in person, interacting with kids. We're a created being, and God created us to fellowship with Him and with others. So that taking that socialization of in-person away from it makes it more of a challenge, because the kids want to interact with their peers. And not having that ability in person is a little difficult, in addition to they're learning now online. So now you're adding more online computer time to their day, and it's not the same energy level. With that being said, God is still moving through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and we're expanding and opening and having new ministry take place even in the midst of a pandemic.
Given those conditions as you refer to them, then, what sorts of ways do you encourage people to make contact with you and find out more about an organization that is so worthwhile for young people, and start setting roots down in an area perhaps around the state that hasn't had a great deal of your presence up till now?
Right. So the best way for information on FCA is going to our website, www.fca.org, or emailing me directly, which is etrask, Trask, @fca.org.
Thank you very much for your time this evening, sir.
Thank you very much.
Once again, my guest on today's WIHS Journal has been Ed Trask, coordinator for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Connecticut. We first talked about the high degree of accountability FCA proclaims for its accountability of funding as recognized by charity Navigator. Then about the activities of FCA at the current time during the coronavirus pandemic. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. The opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of this station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.